Pete Parada was the drummer of the Offspring for more than a decade, touring the world with his brothers in the band, playing unforgettable shows, and making great music. Then in August of 2021, something truly unprecedented happened. Pete was forced out of his role in the band for refusing to take the COVID vaccine. Now, Pete has Guillain-Barré syndrome since he was a child, which can cause severe adverse reactions to vaccinations. In consultation with his doctor, he made the best medical decision for himself, and that wasn't enough to save his gig in the band. And now, due to a recent podcast appearance from The Offspring, all of this has come back up for Pete because the band was asked about the definition of punk rock, and their answer was peak irony. But for those of you that don't remember how it went down, here's what happened. On August 2nd, 2021, Pete Parada released a heartbreaking statement, writing in part, "Given my personal medical history and the side effect profile of these jabs, my doctors advised me not to get a shot at this time. I caught the virus over a year ago. It was mild for me, so I'm confident I'd be able to survive it again. But I'm not so certain I'd survive another post-vaccination round of Guillain-Barré syndrome, which dates back to my childhood and has evolved to be progressively worse over my lifetime. Since I am unable to comply with what is increasingly becoming an industry mandate, it has recently been decided that I am unsafe to be around in the studio and on tour." In November of that same year, The Offspring participated in an interview with a French media outlet, and the subject came up. Here's Noodles discussing why they removed him from the band.
Well, it was rough. I mean, we really went back and forth with him for a long time, and he was either unwilling or unable to get vaccinated at the end. And we looked at every scenario, and we just kept coming into roadblocks. Everybody needed to be vaccinated. One unvaccinated person could have been disastrous to the whole tour, and put the whole tour and everybody at risk. So we just couldn't, in the end, we couldn't take an unvaccinated drummer or any member of the crew. Anyone who wasn't getting vaccinated couldn't come out on tour with us.
Yeah, I'd say it wasn't even so much a personal decision. It was just
wasn't really our decision.
A logistical decision. Like you can't travel, you can't fly. There's so many things that you can't do without being vaccinated. Yeah. So it just wasn't possible.
Now, in a recent appearance on Bert Kreischer's podcast, The Offspring was asked about their definition of punk rock, and here's what they had to say.
Trying to defy convention when somebody tells you, no, you can't. Well, why can't I do that? When somebody tells you, you must do this. Well, why do I have to do this? I don't have to do this.
Different flavors, right? But it's raw and it's aggressive and it's rebellious. And in that sense, Johnny Cash is punk rock.
Okay, so Pete says that after this, a lot of people were clipping that and sending it to him. And in a new appearance on the Try That in a Small Town podcast, Pete went off on his former bandmates in The Offspring, pointing out the irony of the situation. Here's that.
A couple weeks ago, I got bombarded online. Everybody was sending me this clip. Bert Kreischer podcast. Bert had asked them, what does it mean to be punk? And this was the guitar player, and he bold-faced answers, well, being punk means pushing back against authority. Like if someone tells you you have to do this thing, you say, why should I have to do it? And I'm like, my jaw's on the floor because I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? When I said those things, I was called a lot of things and none of them was punk. I guess if you're in the driver's seat of everything and you're in the position of power, you're not going to have self-reflection. You're going to find a way to justify why what you did was right at the time, and you don't have to feel bad about it, unless it's just a complete break from reality and he's rewritten history in his own mind.
Sounds like it.
Not here to speculate that.
From the moment I heard about this situation, it just didn't sit right with me, and I've been talking about it ever since. I even had to go out and get this shirt, The Defiant, and support Pete Parada's new band. They've been around for a couple years now. I've linked to all their stuff down in the description so you can support if you'd like to. I talk to a lot of different musicians. I've been very fortunate to call a lot of them my friends. And a lot of people I talk to about Pete, they say, you know what? Pete's a great man. I've never had anybody say a bad word about Pete Parada to me, and he just demonstrated so much class and integrity in that situation. And I often wonder, does The Offspring look back on this situation and go, man, we could have handled that different. I like The Offspring. I like their music. I respect their catalog for sure. They're great musicians. But when I saw this situation and the way they handled it, it was very disappointing to me when you consider all the factors involved with Pete and the type of guy Pete is. There was no shit behind the scenes with him. Everybody likes this guy, and it just was very sad to see the way it all played out. But you know what? We got a great community here and a great community in music that will stand behind Pete and support him as he continues forward with the Defiant. Anyways, y'all, I appreciate you so much. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new here and let me know what you think down in the comments.